Alright people, what's good? V&B Podcast episode 43. Me, Rory Spooner, James Veck back again, and our special guest, Rhys Henley, back from his travels. Alright, we're going to get straight into it. So, transfer window. A lot of people have been asking me to do more stuff on that, so we'll go over the ins and the outs so far. First topic, lads, Wilfried Zaha. Arsenal have completely lowballed Palace. And when I say completely lowballed Palace, I mean completely lowballed them. Your thoughts?
40 million, isn't it?
40 million.
It's an insult, is what it is, actually, isn't it?
Second bid rejected, also of 40 million and £1.
Again. I don't understand what they hope to achieve with an offer of that amount. It confuses me.
Yeah, it's a weird one, isn't it? I mean, how can you watch Wan-Bissaka do a move for much more than that? Someone with, a lot less experience than him. I get there's the whole English tax thing, but I mean, 40 million for Zaha, I mean, it's probably a fair price actually if you think about it. Wan-Bissaka is massively inflated, and that's why. But if it sets a precedent, you can't then sell Zaha for less.
Yeah, if you're in comparison to what other players are worth, obviously it's a very low offer. In terms of what we think players are actually worth, it's probably, like you say, not too far off. But it's like you said as well. You see Wan-Bissaka go for 45 million, and then obviously you consider that Zaha has done it more consistently for more seasons, and you tend to pay, like I said to you, more money for attacking flair players anyway, more often than not. You usually pay more for a top-class striker or winger than you would for a fullback.
You would,
or
very true,
so,
yes, very true.
I know they haven't got much more money than that to spend, but it's very low ball, like you say, isn't it?
Yeah, I think with the Zaha thing, it satisfies one of those essential criteria with a transfer. I mean, is he going to significantly improve their squad? Yeah. The one thing they're looking for is a winger. You can't keep aspiring to be a top four side and then keep lining up with Alex Iwobi on the wing. Yeah, it's an issue that needs addressing. Yeah, maybe it wasn't the first issue that needed addressing. We know that they need two centre halves.
And the rest.
Yeah, and the rest.
It's strange, isn't it? It's like, because 9 out of 10 will praise Arsenal for how they play attackingly and how good their attacking football is. So do they need an upgrade on Alex Iwobi and probably Mkhitaryan too? Yeah, they do. And Zaha would be that, but it really isn't the root of their problems. The root of their problems starts at the back. They need one, if not two centre halves, probably new full backs as well. So with such little money to spend, I don't really see the logic of trying to blow most of that, if not all of it, on Zaha, when you should be looking at centre halves and full backs, like our transfer videos point out.
The transfer video, which is out now, by the way. Becky's two picks were Tierney and Ryan Fraser. Yeah. Both excellent choices. This is what I think they've done with Zaha. I think Arsenal have gone in, completely lowball Palace, have no real interest in Zaha, but are doing it just to show that they're proactive. That's what I think. I think they know realistically they cannot spend 70 or 80 million on Zaha, but they've gone in with an offer just to go, you know what, we did try. I think that's Stan Kroenke all over.
Yeah, it's not a bad theory. I mean, it's really not a coincidence how things like this seem to materialise around about the time where season tickets go on sale.
Yeah.
You need your fans to be investing in the season, thinking it's going to be a good season, and so to come out with a rumour, look, we are trying. I'm sure Zaha's maybe not the world class name that they wanted, but the fans may have wanted. But I mean, they're going to be happier with him than they are Alex Iwobi. And a front three of Lacazette, Aubameyang, and Zaha is very good.
Up there with the best.
He's very good.
The best.
But, so I mean, it's going to entice people to.
Arsenal fans, right, can often be a bit naive, but they're not that naive. And
they weren't born last night. Arsenal
and it's like you're saying.
Some of them were.
Some. Unfortunately, you're saying how. They're showing that they're active by putting these bids down on players. Yeah. I think that most Arsenal fans, the majority of them, won't fall for that.
Yeah, because at the
end of the season when the window closes, at the start of the season when the window is closed, and they don't have Zaha or anyone of that nature, they're not going to go, but at least we tried and we were active. Do you know what I mean? So it's a probable theory, but I think most Arsenal fans won't buy that.
Ty from Arsenal Fan TV will. He's the only one. No, but the only Arsenal signing, just to point out, and maybe I'm wrong, again, people, if I am wrong, let me know, is Gabriel Martinelli, I believe, from the Brazilian 4th division. He's an 18-year-old striker. Could be anything.
So basically, they haven't signed anyone.
No, pretty much. No.
Yeah, and
No,
a similar story I read today. It's been 8 years since Tranmere sold a guy for 1.8 million to Bayern Munich. He's now playing at Runcorn Town.
Yeah.
So I mean, you can never decide what's going to happen with these guys.
It's me and Becky said this in the last video. The season ended on May the 12th. Today we're recording is July the 6th. Arsenal in between that time have only signed one 18-year-old. So yeah, sorry Arsenal fans, I don't see it getting any better than that. We'll move on from Arsenal quickly in the transfer talk because I don't want any Arsenal fans topping themselves watching this video. Right, okay, so De Ligt. This fucking guy De Ligt, man. This fucker, this motherfucker and his agent. This guy better be a combination of Paolo Maldini and Ronaldinho for the fuss that is being made over this guy. He still hasn't signed with anyone.
Yeah, it's...
What the hell?
I to be honest with you, it's a massive decision for the guy. I think that I've heard you guys talking for the last few weeks about De Ligt, and you've been making him out to be the best thing since sliced bread.
Well, I'll be honest with you, I've said I didn't want him at United.
I agree with you. In my personal opinion, he's going to be world class. That's my personal opinion.
Mm-hmm.
Is he world class now? No, far from it. Llorente is a bang average striker. I made him look like a chump.
Ragdolled him in the Champions League final.
If Llorente is doing that to you, then you need to have a little bit of time at the right place to aid your development. And playing next to Chiellini or Bonucci, these kind of guys, they could teach him a thing or two.
They could.
Of course they could.
But he ain't going to get any playing time to do it, though.
No, I think should he go to Juve, because they do look like the most likely destination. Obviously, it's not decided yet because there's still a lot of transfer talk saying that other clubs are still in the hunt. I think it's... And apparently PSG have still made the highest bid. They're the only one I think it's matched Ajax's valuation, because Juve have still gone in under...
Yeah, Juve have spent a lot of money elsewhere this season.
And they're trying to get him at a discounted price, right? But what they've got going for them is he's supposedly agreed terms and things like that. But yes, it's a big decision for him, but it doesn't and shouldn't take this long. Like, if you're a young professional football player with the same kind of potential as De Ligt, you're not, right? Let's just clear that. But if you were,
there's still time.
And you've got Barcelona, PSG, we'll say United, not really, but we'll say them anyway, and Juve. It's not going to take you 2, 3, 4 months to pick, is it?
No, but at the same time, if you were to tell an 18-year-old man, hang on a minute, I think I can get you an extra 20 grand a week. If you hang on here, I'd be like, oh, all right then. I've done that for an extra 20 quid.
Yeah, but the amount of money that he's going to get at either club anyway, and at his age, that shouldn't be his priority.
I think it's not a character judgment you can make about De Ligt in this case. It's more the people surrounding him.
Yeah, like Raiola.
Yeah.
But and I appreciate that.
I mean, Paul Pogba is a perfect example of this.
He still has control of his situation, though, to a certain extent, as De Ligt. And I just believe that there should be a club that he wants to go to, and he should be pushing that.
Sure, and whilst I agree with you, it is his decision to make, and if he's messing around clubs around him, then it's not great. But at the same time, if you've got someone who's represented the players that Mino Raiola has represented, you've got to just trust that this guy's got your best interests at heart.
Oh look, Raiola has everybody's best interest.
He brokers amazing deals for the people he represents, and so if you weren't going to trust him, then why appoint him as your agent? So you could say he should sort of stop messing everyone around and pick. But on the other hand, if he ignores an agent as big as Raiola, is that not foolish?
Yeah, but also at the same time, though, right? You would think that you want, by in the next couple of weeks now, you would want to have the club that you're going to be playing for next season sorted. You can get a good pre-season under your belt. You get all your preparation sorted, so that you're going into the season prepared. You don't, if this keeps going on now, when does the window close? I can't even, because I know the Premier League.
The Italian one, now. I don't know when that
he's probably already decided. He's probably already decided.
Yeah.
But he's probably been told, right, okay, we're not going to officially announce anything because I think I can get you 10 grand a week.
He can't obviously join up with them though until it's all official and signed and whatever. So if the longer that drags out, it just doesn't make too much sense to me. Business sense, it makes a lot of sense. But in terms of his football.
Well, this is what I've heard thus far about De Ligt, just doing research online from people who are incredible. Again, they're not none of these weird in the nose that we've talked
No
about
profile.
I've
previously.
heard lots about Reddit guys on
the
tiers.
Reddit guys, yeah. So basically, this is it. So PSG and United have agreed fees with Ajax, but they're not really his first choice. Barcelona basically said to Raiola, fuck you, we're not dealing with you, they're out of the race. So that leaves Juventus. Juventus have agreed terms, but they can't agree a transfer fee. Whereas United and PSG have agreed transfer fees, but can't agree terms because he doesn't want to go there. From what I heard, and this was from Christophe Dugarry, I didn't speak to him personally, heard it online, we're not close like that.
Not yet.
But not yet, anyway. But Christophe Dugarry basically is a top pundit in France now, a lot of information, actually a really interesting guy. And he said that Ligt, as part of his PSG contract, he wanted a release clause of 150 million. Now, they don't do release clauses in France, so straight away that's a problem. And PSG's standpoint was, why are you looking to leave before you've already joined?
Yeah.
See, Raiola's smart as fuck. This is what's happening with Pogba, which is an excellent segue into what we'll talk about next, by the way. I'm great at this media stuff. Pogba, 3 years into a 5-year contract, is looking to be moved. The exact same way De Ligt is going to be moved. I don't even see the point in Juventus buying him, because he'll be there for 3 years. You won't get his best years. They might be quite average years, given the fact he's so young. He's just going to leave after 3 seasons anyway. So what's the point in buying him?
Especially for a club like PSG with, not the greatest deal of at least recent history, and a group of players there who have been bought for money. There's not a culture on the club of legends and things like that. You've got people like Neymar, for all intents and purposes, here is merely a tool to attract other players at the club, and he's sitting there going, I want to leave anyway.
Well, he's on a rape charge right now, so he's desperate to get out. Allegedly.
Allegedly.
Important word.
Allegedly.
Yeah, possibly. But I mean, he's looking to leave. You wouldn't want to go to a club where your best player's leaving. You wouldn't want to go to Barcelona when Messi's leaving. No one wanted to go to Madrid when Ronaldo was leaving. These things are factors for footballers. You wouldn't want to go to Manchester United. You would have 10 years ago.
Yeah.
You wouldn't want to go there now when Pogba wants to get out and they've got no one coming in. If you're De Ligt, you're not going to want to join up and play next to Harry Maguire at the best case scenario.
Well, we'll go on to Pogba now very quickly. The Pogba video that I've done is now online. If you haven't seen it, you're missing out. Go check it. We give our 3 replacements that would suit Manchester United. It's looking like he'll go. The deal that was on Twitter earlier, again, don't know how true it is, was Isco and 70+ million for Pogba. Would you take that deal?
Yeah, I would take that.
Rhys, would you take that deal?
Yeah, of course I would take that deal. I mean, personally, I think you'd have to give Pogba and 70 million to Real for Isco, especially based on form.
Yeah, but I just think that Pogba as a brand and as a name and what he's capable of,
but that's all he is nowadays.
That is all he is. That's
a brand.
He is as a brand.
Yeah, but he would have, and he does have the ability to recreate what he did when he was at Juve before.
He's a powerhouse midfielder. Yeah, I'll give you that. He's an absolute powerhouse midfielder.
Put him with quality players, right? And he'll be a quality player.
Yeah, quality team, quality players.
That's
if the situation around him is quality, they will bring out the best in him. You look at him in the World Cup, right? You look how he did for how he played for Juventus.
He's not a leader like people think. He needs leaders around him to lead him.
And
that's what he needs.
I'm sure we can all agree that he has immense talent. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
In terms of his attributes and his abilities, he can be the best midfield player in the world. He could be.
Yeah, he can be up there.
Yeah, of course he can be up there. His performances for United do suggest otherwise, but we know there's other factors that affect that, right?
They're not a forward-thinking club, United. No, and I think Pogba is a forward-thinking player.
That's a fucking understatement of the century.
But in terms of their play, though, in terms of their tactics, it's not forward-thinking, and it hasn't been for a long time.
This is why I think that, I know you said that you think it would be, Pogba and 70 million for Isco, but in the actual market, I think it's more likely to be the other way.
Madrid are desperate to get him as well.
Yeah.
He'll be gone
I think Madrid are anything but desperate.
Oh, no.
Zidane loves him as well.
Look at the players they've signed, and they've still got Modric and Kroos.
Yeah, but bear in mind, Modric is 46, and Kroos is getting on a bit as well now. So they're gonna need some.
The guy won a Ballon d'Or last year. You don't. I get people can fall off a cliff.
With his commitments in Coronation Street as well, so it's all a bit too much for him.
Oh shit!
But yeah, he did win the Ballon d'Or last season,
and
although
Planet
he shouldn't
of the Apes
have.
as well. I saw him in Planet of the Apes
exactly,
a while back. Modric,
he didn't win the Ballon d'Or last year. He did on paper. He had a superb season, right?
No, he was very good, but Madrid as a whole have had a complete decline because that cycle has ended for that side now. So they need.
You go through phases, don't you? I mean, you mentioned a few weeks back. They went through a phase. That cycle has ended, and now they've reinvested in what they believe will be the next phase of success. And that is a club like Real Madrid has to do that. You know, their fans won't stand for it. It's not like some clubs in England, especially, who like to make a song and dance about their club not doing anything, but actually don't actually act on it. I think foreign fans, especially Spanish fans, there's such a culture of success there. Anything other than that will not do.
Yeah, I agree.
What do you guys make of the possibility of Pogba leaving United then? So obviously we know the sort of the negatives of him in the team, but like there are also positives as well, yeah. And
there are only positives in my eyes.
Look, we all know Pogba's a great player, and he's always good for France. However, you ask the question, if he continues to play the way he's been playing for Manchester United, under Manchester United, and we can talk about the tactics involved and why and reasons he's not performing, is he going to make the next World Cup squad for France? Is he good enough?
I don't think that's too much out of the question. But if United sell Pogba and they don't bring in a significant replacement or a big enough name, then could we see it being even worse off without him?
Of course.
As I've said in the transfer videos that I've done for United, because they were all my work, but Vecchi sort of had a little bit of input as well, you can't just replace Pogba with one player. It has to be maybe 2 or 3 players. So if you get 150 million for Pogba, you go, okay, we'll get James Maddison. Okay, we'll get a Ruben Neves as well. Okay, we'll get Donny van de Beek, for example.
But quite quickly you end up with a team full of top 6 players rather than top 4 players.
Well, that's a team of young players who have the potential to go on and do quite a bit.
And what, you're looking for long-term solutions then?
Yeah, I mean, realistically, there's no short-term fix for that United side. There's no... United
They've
cannot...
tried short-term fixes as well.
They cannot, as you say, the position they're in, they cannot go out and get quality players like a Pogba.
They've got big players, but they haven't got the right players in the past. I mean, you look at...
Di Maria.
Di Maria, I've just, for record, it's interesting you say that first. He was probably the only guy since Fergie left who I've actually thought, that guy is probably the right guy for this team. And obviously it didn't work. You ended up playing him in central midfield for unknown reasons. It was a choice between that and wing back, which is just more Sunday league than you can possibly imagine. But I mean, you look at the players you've recruited over the last few years, and you just think, they probably weren't the right guys at the right time.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. If you needed to spend when you spend 80 million on Pogba, great player, but you needed to spend 80 million on centre halves.
Well,
at the time.
Now you're on about the right players. That's an excellent segue, Rhys, into a certain slabhead Maguire, who potentially by the end of this transfer window could be the world's most expensive defender. And if Ed Woodward has his way, probably won't be far off the world's most expensive player because he over-negotiated.
Can I also just say, I did mention in quite a recent video of ours that it cannot happen, a situation where United buy Maguire at a cost more than Van Dijk. It just, you are setting yourself up for the biggest of falls. Because as soon as he becomes a much more expensive defender than Van Dijk, the expectation attached to that is ridiculous. And when he flops, which he probably will, and just becomes a younger Phil Jones or a Chris Smalling.
I get what you're trying to say, but
it's just you open yourself for criticism. He's not worth that money. Nowhere near it.
I get your point, and it does stand, but you can apply that logic to pretty much anything. There was a point where let's talk about Alan Shearer was the most expensive striker in the world, and fast forward all this time, and Roberto Soldado costed more than Alan Shearer did. It doesn't mean
that
we're
he
has to be
that's
better
different
than
eras.
Shearer. It's just the way football moves on.
But that's in different eras. This is a year apart, pretty much.
And football's inflating at a rate of knots at the moment. But I get your point. He's not good enough for that sum of money. It's ridiculous. I mean,
you said as well, right, that if you can get a Maguire at 40 to 50 million, yes, it's still very expensive, but you can kind of go, we'll take a chance. Maybe it could come good. But when you're spending, and 70 million clearly isn't enough, so it could be 80 plus. When you're spending that much money on Maguire, it's just a bought mission for me. That I just don't want anywhere near that.
I think we discussed it a lot last year after the World Cup when he was first linked with Manchester United, and the thing that struck me, I mean, obviously at the time I think you were pro Maguire, And I was absolutely anti-Maguire. I think we agree now on whether to buy Maguire. And that's a no from me, by the way, as it is from you. But what's interesting me from the point of view of Ed Woodward and the sort of the transfer policy for Manchester United, you've actually managed to get a guy here who you tried to get last year and couldn't quite get over the line, but you kind of knew what it would cost you, and it was going to be less than now. So when his stock was higher, you managed to get him at less. So people are holding you to ransom for their players. Harry Maguire has not had a great year.
He didn't have a bad year though.
No.
Great,
I wouldn't say he's been great for England, and I wouldn't say he's been fantastic for Leicester. And somehow his value has risen.
But like you just touched upon, that's just season upon season. That's just the way transfer fees are going, right? Like, unless you have a really bad season or an exceptional season, which will have a direct impact on your transfer fee. If you just have a decent or a pretty alright season, if you're 40 million one season and you're young, there's probably every chance you're going to be 50 million next season. I take your point on board, but I was.
I mean, Wan-Bissaka is a good point.
Yeah, I mean, I was, pretty pro Maguire last season, and it's not that I'm dead against Maguire. I'm dead against him at the sums that are being talked about.
I get what you're saying.
It's not your money though.
No,
if he's the right guy.
And this is exactly the point I was going to make, Rhys. I would rather United spend 80 million, right, on Maguire than 30 million went to the Glazers. I would rather that. Just spend it, fuck it, I don't care.
You've got a point. You've got a point. I mean, there's the two sides of the argument. You don't want to be held to ransom, but at the same time, it's not your money. And as long as he's going to improve your side, that's the bottom line for yourself. And is he going to improve them? Yes. But is he good enough to get you where you want to be? Absolutely not. He has found his level there at Leicester.
Is he better than what's at United now, though?
Yeah, of course he is. But I mean, is it that hard to be better than Smalling?
No,
and also, being better than Smalling or Jones is not a qualification to play in the Champions League.
No, it most definitely isn't.
United need to up their centre half levels by maybe 2-3 levels, right, than what they've got now. If it's 80 million to just elevate it one level, just so they're slightly better, just as you put it, so that Phil Jones and Chris Smalling are not playing.
I'm happy with that.
There's too much money just to play someone else. Just get a kid from the reserves and just put him in. Tuanzebe and Lindelof. Do you know what I mean? Just stick them two in.
There are only two guys on the planet I would have as United players at the moment in that centre half. Slot, and I think you actually touched upon one of them, Jose Jimenez. I've been saying for a long time. I think he's an absolute beast.
He's an animal.
And at 24, I think he's unbelievable.
And he's been because he's been next to Godin.
Exactly,
as well.
And that's the exact point I'm coming out with, is that he's been partnered next to a guy who's unbelievable, and he's the actual other guy as well, Diego Godin. Diego Godin is an animal as well, and he's probably the other guy I would get.
At this stage in his career, at this age now?
Yeah.
But he's gone to Inter Milan now, so he's joined Inter in this transfer.
Yeah, but he's the only other guy on the planet that would fit for me in that team at that level.
Does that not... So, Godin, you said, has gone to Inter Milan, right?
Yeah.
That's... To me, that is confusing and interesting, because surely, for a player of his quality, there will be other clubs that will be going in for him. Because Inter Milan don't have much money. They're not exactly flying like they ever used to be. So why Inter Milan? Why not anywhere
who
else?
Who buys
the pace? I imagine.
Who still buys people who over the age of 30? There's very few clubs in the world with a recruitment policy that now allows you to sort of buy people of 30 years and over.
Well, do you know an interesting thing about Italian football? And I actually read this 2 days ago and I was shocked. It's not related to Godin. It is kind of related to Godin, and it isn't. But AC Milan have a higher revenue now. AC Milan, they have a smaller revenue than Leicester City. Leicester have a significantly higher revenue.
Doesn't surprise me.
That's because of TV money.
And the thing is, Godin on a free, I think it was a free transfer. It was a very small sum of money if he did go. That's perfect for an Italian club. The pace of the league suits him. He doesn't have to run an awful lot. His best years are probably behind him, but within Serie A, as you've seen with Chiellini and Bonucci, you can get away with two old centre-halves. You put him in the Premier League, he is going to get gassed.
Yeah, but at the World Cup, I thought Diego Godin was unbelievable.
Nah, he's all right.
Am I right in saying that Uruguay knocked out Portugal in that World Cup?
Yeah.
And obviously they were up against Bernardo Silva, Cristiano Ronaldo, all these guys.
I do rate Godin.
He's still a decent player. I just don't think he'd suit the
Jimenez would be my guy.
Jimenez would be my guy as well.
Yeah.
And I think he's still young, but he's at that age now where he's just had the right amount of time playing with somebody who taught him a lot, and that makes him quite a unique asset in world football at the moment. He's someone who De Ligt will be in a few years' time.
We'll hold you to that because it's on video as well, so you will not escape that. Okay, cool. We'll move on from Maguire because I don't want to get too depressed. Okay, Rodri, the most Welsh-sounding Spanish player of all time. What the actual fuck?
Has he got a Welsh grandfather?
I hope so.
Oh, let's get him next to Joe Allen.
I hope so, because Wales could do with a Rodri in central midfield. I'd be honest with you, lads. I wanted to bring this up with you again, just go back to Atletico Madrid. When we talk about their 5 best players, this lad never came into the equation. He's never. If you hear an Atletico Madrid conversation, you would hear Griezmann, you would hear Jimenez, you would hear Godin, you would hear.
I don't believe he is. I don't believe he is in the top 5 players.
So is he that big a signing for City?
€70 million.
Their best player, up until the time this summer, was probably Godin, followed closely by All Black.
Yeah, All Black again.
Yeah.
Thomas Partey as well.
Put Costa in that bracket. I mean, you look at Jimenez, Griezmann, and I guess there's a 5th spot up for grabs there maybe. Rodri is still very young. I think he recently played in the Under-21s World Cup, so I think you're largely paying for potential there, which is obviously something that
Guardiola's a smart guy. And he obviously
sees
something that can fit into his system and the way that City side plays. So it'd be interesting to see how much game time he actually has.
I'm very
he's the Fernandinho understudy at the moment, isn't he?
Yeah.
Fernandinho, I mean, you saw him last season, he was really good. But they were just starting to sort of not quite be the defensive team that they were. I mean, they were making mistakes, and I'm not going to blame Fernandinho, but he's not quite as sharp as he has been down the years.
That's very true.
And he's starting to decline. I'm sure even he would admit that. His game is slower, and for Rodri now to come in and be the understudy, I think he's in a good position because David Silva is now over the hill.
Well, David Silva's leaving at the end of this season.
Exactly.
As well,
Ilkay Gundogan, I think, had a bad season. By all accounts,
I
think.
What do you think? David Silva retiring at the end of the next season means for Phil Foden?
Phil Foden is going to go. Phil Foden is going to be an absolute star.
Do you think though that Guardiola this time next season is going to see not obviously the same type of player as Rodri, but like he's done now to replace Fernandinho? He could very well dip into the market.
Oh no, he will because City will always have 2 quality players for each position.
Foden is a youth player, right? Who is in a unique position because he fits into the Guardiola style of play. And also, that's all he's known since he's come of age. That's since Guardiola's been there.
The problem is now, right, is that City also need to sign some English players because last season I was reading this last season, their squad was shorter. The squad that they registered for the Premier League season was 2 or 3 players less than most other clubs because you have to have X amount of English players registered, which they didn't.
Yeah.
So obviously, if David Silva, if players are going to be going out, they need to be bringing some English players in to replace them because with Delph could be going as well. So if they're going to let English players go and not bring any in, their squad is just going to get shorter and shorter and shorter.
The issue you have is if you want to stay the top team and make challenges for the Champions League, which is the next natural step for Manchester City.
It has to be.
How can you do that with English players in your team? No disrespect, but there are not a lot of English players. Kane is not achievable. Kane is not an achievable signing for them.
I don't know, mind. Do you know what I was going to say? With Aguero's only got a couple of seasons left in him, and then you got to replace Aguero.
Tottenham are unlikely at best to sell Kane to City.
It doesn't mean that they have to have English players as focal parts of their spine or the squad, but they need to find a way to engineer some decent English talent into that squad. Otherwise, like I said, if Delph or someone goes, or you look at maybe like if a Kyle Walker left or something like that, then they're very thin on the ground and their squad is getting smaller.
They just signed or re-signed Angelino, who had a very good season at PSV. He's gone back to City now. After basically what was essentially a year's loan. PSV bought him outright, but City had a buyback clause. PSG wanted to buy him for around, I think it was €30 million. City got him for 5.9, I think it was. So he'll be competing with Zinchenko and Mendy. We said Chilwell. Chilwell looks like he's going to stay. Arsenal can't afford him. City don't need him. United don't need him. Spurs, we did.
Not quite a top 4 player for me at the moment. Top 6, yeah.
Top 6, I'd agree, yeah.
But not quite at that Man City elite level.
Yeah, but it's one of those where you will never know unless someone takes a punt on him and tries.
Of course, absolutely.
And sometimes they come off.
He's knocking on the door for sure.
Because, for example, Andy Robertson came from Hull.
No, you're right.
And Joe Gomez came from Charlton.
I mean,
so it works.
Yeah.
But unless somebody's willing to take a punt on him, which
big money punt though now, isn't it?
But it could be bigger though in a year or two time.
Oh, it will be.
True.
So,
but you've got to have a lot of faith if you're going to put him into a side defending the Premier League and going for the Champions League.
Which is why I don't necessarily think City would be the right destination, but like a Spurs, an Arsenal, or United.
Look, North London is perfect for Ben Chilwell, but I don't think he'll go there purely.
Yeah, I chose him to take over as Danny Rose, didn't I?
My bad. Sorry.
I told you this before the episode.
I know.
Me on the line.
I know. I thought it was off. I'll turn it off. Right.
So that's how we get the inside scoop, isn't it?
Sake. Yeah, that was the Ligt ringing me. Yeah, so we now know where he's
Turns out he shows
Madrid. Cool. We're going to an interval. We'll be right back after this. Stay tuned. Don't go anywhere. Add us up on social media. All right, we're back. B&B podcast. My phone is now off, gents. You'll be glad to know. And we're ready to talk football. All right, cool. Rhys, Newcastle. Now, I know this is the
Do we have to?
Yeah, we do. It's the primary reason that you're here. Because you are Mr. Newcastle and you're inside info on Newcastle. So please tell us your thoughts on initially Rafael Benitez and then Mike Ashley.
Yeah. So obviously, for anyone who doesn't know, to backdate it a month, there's been talk of a big takeover by an Arab billionaire. Sheikh Mansour's T-boy or cousin or something like that.
Something,
one of them, he's taken over apparently. That's all gone a bit quiet. Rafa Benitez's contract was due to expire at the end of June. They couldn't come to terms, and that has ended up with Rafa leaving. Now, that is not just like any manager leaving a club. That is like hope leaving a club. Rafa Benitez represented a turn in the way that Newcastle would be managed, in the way that the future would go, the calibre of person that we could attract to the club. If you imagine Alan Pardew as a manager, then you can attract a lot less talented players than you can attract with Rafa Benitez. Now, with regards to the state of play now, it's got to a point where hope is not there at the moment, and it's a very uncertain time to be a Newcastle fan. I'll give you an example of just the way that things are being run there at the moment. Rafa Benitez has left. We were just discussing it earlier. Mikel Antia was his assistant. Now, they've gone to a club in China, and you can talk about that as much as you like, about the decisions that Rafa Benitez has made and how hypocritical that can appear. But as a Newcastle fan, you look at Mike Ashley's been responsible for that. Now, Mikel Antia has left as well, the assistant manager, and he's taken some of his coaching staff as well. Now, Newcastle players have now returned to training, minus Ayoze Perez, who has moved to Leicester. Again, we can talk about that. And they don't have a striker. They don't have a manager. They don't have an assistant manager. They don't have a coaching team. The person that is currently in charge of Newcastle's pre-season is the youth coach. This guy has never taken a senior training session in his life, and he's in charge of the full pre-season to get the senior team ready for the best league in the world. I'm sorry, I don't want that. I want a manager who has got the tactics board out. I want him sort of giving everyone sort of diet plans and getting them all ready, all with liaising with the fitness team and all the rest. I want that happening. I don't want him handing out Panda Pops after every training session.
Do it. You want something elite.
Yeah,
that's what you want. Yeah,
he's used to kids. Yeah, what's he gonna do with like 30-year-olds?
Yeah,
it's a very Jimmy Savile question. I'm not gonna lie.
The thing is, right, it's a very sad situation for Newcastle fans at the moment, especially as you just started to get that glimmer of hope that things were possibly changing for the better, yeah? So there was, and we spoke at length over the last couple of weeks and months about this takeover, a possible takeover. The shakeover, exactly, and how it appeared different to previous talks of takeovers, yeah?
Yeah.
So just when it seemed that things were potentially changing for the better, you've had the carpet just ripped right from under your feet, right?
It's a triple whammy actually, because it's when you're given hope and the hope is taken away is worse than when there was no hope to begin with.
What do we say? What's the saying?
It's the hope that kills
you. It's the hope that kills
you. It is,
right?
And as a fan, it's not right to be treated that way. But you've got the takeover, which has gone quiet, which is disappointing. Rafa Benitez, which is awful. You know, it really, really represents a failure with the club. But also, when you think things can't get worse, we've just sold our top scorer, and we're not getting our second top goal scorer, Rondon, who accounted for 50% of our goals last year.
And Rafa Benitez, in my opinion, was actually the perfect manager for Newcastle, because you're right in saying that he is a top manager, but there are top managers above him, which obviously Newcastle aren't going to get, right? But the best of the rest is like a Rafa Benitez, and you had him in your grasp, right? And he was pragmatic. He set you up as difficult to beat, which is hard to do with that side.
Yeah.
But he set you up as difficult to beat, and he's a manager that knew how to play a Premier League season, yeah? And, you know, we spoke earlier on in the season past where it looked very bleak for Newcastle. There was so many stats coming out about them sort of conceding more goals, scoring less goals, losing more home games, all of this than they'd ever done before. But we just knew that Rafa would pull them through, yeah, like he did the season before. And the fact that Mike Ashley and those behind the scenes have failed to realise that they had an absolute gem there, and he was the best possible person that could elevate you back up to anywhere near where you used to be, and they've just let him walk.
Yeah, it is one of those. I mean, I think they probably did their best to keep him. I think there was probably a case of, you know, giving him as much money as he wanted, but I think it was more of a case that he wanted to have a transfer budget, and he wanted them to match his ambition for the club. That's
interesting question, right? You know the term he's sort of come up with in his statement, saying that they didn't match his ambitions
for the club. Yeah.
Yeah. What do you? Because I imagine that they offered him a bigger salary. By how much I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
And I would imagine that they offered him an improved situation, than what it is now. But when he says they didn't match his ambitions at the club, what do you think his ambitions were that didn't align with?
I think Ashley's? Just to move forward. You can operationalise that as much as you want, but to move forward and to progress and make the club better, I think is what he wanted. Now, if that's
broad.
It is broad. But, you know, last season, the season before last, we finished 10th. They didn't invest. And then this season, we finished 13th. And from Rafa Benitez's point of view, someone of that calibre, he doesn't want to finish 13th. He wants to progress. He wants to finish better than 10th, maybe 9th. 9th represents success. You move forward. You've invested and you move forward. Maybe then he wants 8th. Mike Ashley is content to finish 17th every year, scoop the TV money.
He's like a Stan Kroenke. Basically, yeah.
Swansea owners, they're all in league. These people have to pass a fit and proper person's test.
Yeah, there's a lot of them about.
And I would love to know how you pass that.
Money.
Because if you can support a business, brilliant. Go and buy a shop. But there are so many stakeholders in a football club. Fans, you know, you've got your shareholders in your club, you know, you've got the staff, you've got the players. People, just onlookers, people who are neutral fans who want to see the game played well. They don't want to see a team put 11 men in the ball.
People of the city as well that benefit from it.
It's bad for the game. And I guess the ambition's not been matched. He's basically been told, no, we're going to stay put. You know, we're getting good TV money. There's no need to invest. You're a good manager. You can get a 17th every year. We're not going to get relegated with you. And he's going, well, no. That's boring.
Well, saying that then, we'll say that to say this. How do they move forward and who takes them forward?
Now, before you answer that, obviously it looks like Sean Longstaff could be leaving the club as well, which is obviously, his season was cut a bit prematurely. I believe was it knee ligaments?
It was.
I think it was a knee ligament injury that he had, which meant that I think he only had 13 appearances, about 8 or 9 starts, right? But up until that point, he did look very, very promising. Now, there's a lot of talk on Sky Sports saying that he's linked with United, or he could be going out the door, which is another promising good player leaving. So to sort of go back to Spooner's question, like what's progression now? What's the best case scenario that Newcastle can get from where they are now?
The best case scenario at this stage,
realistic as well,
is a takeover. But we've got to assume that that's not happening for the purposes of your question.
Yeah. So if there's no takeover, what can they do to try and?
I'm assuming just avoid relegation.
Yeah, best case scenario is avoid relegation. That is the best case scenario, and also, I think moving forward with as little embarrassment as possible.
So who's the manager?
Who do you want as a manager?
Well, first of all, I don't think it matters. There's been a number of names linked who I'm not a fan of. I think at this point, as a fan, you've got to be realistic. Who do I think would be the best person moving forward? I probably would have said Brendan Rodgers, but he's now gone to Leicester as of last season. Roberto Martinez is the name linked that I'm probably most a fan of, mainly because I've seen what he can do with a team that's average, i.e. Swansea. I saw what he could do with them. I saw what he did to Wigan. He's a decent manager, regardless of what happened at Everton. Got Belgium to the third place at the World Cup. No, I don't think any candidate, in my own opinion, would be any good. I think it's hard to replace Rafa Benitez.
Yeah.
I think it's like when Alex Ferguson left, obviously different, but you're going to have to deal with whatever you get, because realistically, you're not going to be as good. Mm-hmm. Like you said, Spooner, when are we going to be able to attract the next Real Madrid manager? How do we do it in the first place? I want to know. If you Google Newcastle United manager, Lee Charnley comes up, managing director. And that says it all. Our club is not run by a manager. It's run by a head coach.
Do you know, right? It's at times, we feel that it's bad to be a United fan, right?
And then significantly worse being a Newcastle.
But you take one step further, and it's even worse to be an Arsenal fan, which is true. And then you got this guy over here, who's a Newcastle fan. I just think I can't quite comprehend how that would feel to be a fan of that club.
No. Moving forward, what represents progress? Not selling your players for a start. 80 million for Longstaff and Perez is good business.
You did buy Perez, was it 1.8 million?
That is good business for Sports Direct.
I was going to say, only if it gets reinvested is it good business.
And you won't reinvest it either.
Yeah. And Galaxy or whatever else he buys.
That's the biggest problem, right?
Is the moral of the story.
Yeah, basically. They won't reinvest that money the way they should.
No, of course they won't. On the subject of Sean Longstaff, obviously you touched upon it. He has been heavily linked to Manchester United, and I think we could be going through a Sky Sports rumour mill over here about preparing a Longstaff bid. I don't know if there's any truth to a story like that.
And again, just to touch upon this very quickly, why do you need to prepare a bid for Sean Longstaff?
It's probably just just rumour mill.
Well, Wan-Bissaka was signed a week ago, 10 days ago. Would you not just go in? You know your budget. You kind of know. It's like when you go into Tesco's, you got a budget, right? You go, well, I need this, this, this. I'm preparing to buy the lasagna.
It is a hard sell, though. Imagine if I was to, go to an international business, like Manchester United. I called them a business on purpose. Then, by the way, very true. And I said, okay, here's 50 million. Do you want to spend it on a Tony Kroos, who, by the way, cost £25 million a few years ago? There are bargains to be had. Or would you like to spend it on this guy from North Shields, who's got 9 senior appearances to his name in the Premier League? Well, not even in the Premier League, some of them in the League Cup. Mm-hmm. It's a hard sell.
It is a hard sell, you're right.
50 million for a guy who's not even got 8 Premier League games under his belt is a lot of money.
I'd take him at 25, at 50.
No. I'll tell you this, right? I mean, obviously I support Newcastle, but I try to be as unbiased as possible. The guy is good.
We spoke about him last season. I pointed out to you that he looked very, very promising. He's
got a very good work ethic. He's got a passion for the game, which is refreshing. Of course, he's playing for his boyhood team. But he's also got a really, really good passing range and a good head on him. He knows what to do with the ball, which is rare for someone who's not played a lot of football. I don't think he is up to the standard that United need.
Just about ask that.
He's not. I mean, will he improve your team? He's better than...
Will he improve the midfield?
In my opinion, he's better than Ander Herrera was before he went to PSG.
So that's a big shout, man, because Herrera played okay.
I don't believe Herrera was a player, technically. He's not better than Matt. I think he's better than Fred. Yeah, he's better than Fred. But that's not the point. It's the Harry Maguire debate again. Is it just because he's better than someone who doesn't deserve to be in your team to begin with? Does that mean he deserves to be there? No, I don't even think Sean Longstaff is top 6 standard yet. Do I think he's got potential to be? Absolutely, but I don't think he will be until he's got at least a full season of Premier League experience.
I think it's a Daniel James situation. It's potential in that. That's what it is.
50 million.
Yeah, but we're going back to the
that's
argument.
Like half your war chest.
The way the market is again, isn't it?
It is what it is.
United have pretty much like an unlimited war chest to an extent. They can buy whoever they like. It's not a problem commercially, financially. They're sound, yeah. But it seems to me that Solskjaer is trying to buy players, like you said, with passion and work ethic and hard work. Yeah,
and there is a place for it, but you need other guys as well.
You need to surround it with
you need
quality.
the right mix.
Yeah.
I agree totally.
Because you've got the talent, which is like Paul Pogba, for example, and you always say, hard work beats talent.
Talent doesn't work hard.
Exactly, right? And there's truth in that. But if they're going to sign, obviously they've signed Daniel James and Wan-Bissaka. If they're going to sign a Sean Longstaff, maybe a Diop. It's a Diop as well.
It's a Diop's a good shout.
There needs to be, and I said this to you quite recently, there needs to be a marquee signing. Somebody, one or two marquee signings still has to come in.
Agree.
If you guys rate Lindelof as high as you rate him, I mean, obviously we've had discussions about this before. We're not going to go through it again. But if you rate him as high as you rate him, partner him with someone. Let him have the experience with someone world class. Putting him with Harry Maguire is just going to mess both players around. Harry Maguire is going to get flack for being the world's most expensive centre half and will never live up to that. And Lindelof will only learn how to head from corners.
I think they're too similar anyway, in a sense that neither really have any pace. So
yeah.
I wouldn't. All right, cool. We'll leave it at that with Newcastle because I don't want you to get too upset. I know you're in your feelings about it. It's a lot to absorb. It's okay though. The only way is up unless you go down.
Which is potentially
quite a long way to go down, actually.
Which could happen. Okay, interesting story of the week. Right, well, there's two. We'll see if we can squeeze the last one in. Now, you talk about fit and proper owners. Excellent segue. Now, fit and proper owners goes into fit and proper representation and goes into fit and proper management. Now, when I WhatsApped the lads this story earlier, there's a few question marks. Now, you haven't done any research on it, have you? Which is fine, because that makes it all the better.
Going in blind.
We're going in blind. We're going in Stevie Wonder, right? So we're going in blind. Basically, this is the story about Gary Monk. Now, Gary Monk has a lot of significance in South Wales because of his time with Swansea. Everyone thought he was going to go on to be this incredible young English manager that would do great things. He's kind of bounced from club to club to club to club. Hasn't really done it.
And by the way, he's been very unfortunate everywhere he's gone.
Well, Rhys, when I read this article to you, you might think slightly differently.
Yes.
Hold that thought.
Hold up. Wait a minute. Something ain't right. And that's exactly what Middlesbrough said when Gary Monk was in charge. So basically, the story with Gary Monk is this. Gary Monk and his agent have been accused by Middlesbrough of deceiving them in the transfer market to the tune of millions of pounds in a legal letter that was sent to them, okay? So, just to make you aware of the situation, lads, his agent is a guy called James Featherstone, right? Now, the scenario centres around a conflict of interest surrounding Featherstone and him. Now, this is shady as fuck, right? When Maguire, sorry, I got Maguire on the brain. When Monk, should I say, left Middlesbrough, Monk knew he was going to be under investigation, so he wiped his laptop completely clean of any evidence. Basically, the club laptop, the hard drive has been completely cleaned. For it, nothing. CSI ain't getting nothing on him, and you're probably wondering why that is, right? So if I scroll down the article, I can go down a little further, right? So basically, Middlesbrough, their concern was that Gary Monk, his transfer dealings were not in the best interest of the club. Now, we'll go over this in a bit of depth, just to give you some type of context, because it is actually a really interesting story, right? So the deals that sort of come under investigation were in the summer transfer window. So it was for Cyrus Christie, Ashley Fletcher, Ryan Shotton and Marvin Johnson, right?
They should come under investigation.
Yeah, they should, right. So get this, right? So Middlesbrough were unhappy to discover that Featherstone, the manager's agent, had been acting for Derby County when they signed Christie for the Rams in 2017. So basically, Gary Monk's agent is representing Derby in the transfer market, okay? So there was no real transparency with the deal, and basically Middlesbrough were very unhappy that Gary Monk would share confidential information to an agent that is representing another club they're trying to buy a player off. So when it moves forward, there was sort of an incident where Middlesbrough wanted to sign Christie for 1.75 million, and Gary Monk's agent, who's representing Derby, said to Derby, no, hold out for 2.25 million. So Middlesbrough saying, we want him at this price. Monk has told his agent, we want him at this price. The agent goes back to Derby and says, no, get more out of them. Interesting thing, do you know who got a slice of that deal? Gary Monk's agent and Gary Monk. So by pushing the price up with the other club, they then get a higher percentage of what comes in.
I want this guy out of Newcastle.
So
Get him in.
Okay.
Lovely bit of bullshittery, that.
Question. So I wasn't really aware, maybe it's just me being naive or just not enough sort of knowledge on the situation. I wasn't aware you could be an agent but also act for another club in the
you're not. There's a conflict of interest. You're not supposed to. In Gary Monk's
that
contract, it's not. This is it. In Gary Monk's contract, he has to represent Middlesbrough with complete transparency and be clear and honest about his dealings. Now, Gary Monk's agent is representing the club they're trying to buy a player from. He's telling the club, push the price up. Gary Monk's giving him inside information. Not supposed to do that. So whether Gary Monk allegedly is getting a slice of this money, we don't know. But his laptop has been completely wiped. So he's hid all the evidence. But it's not just Middlesbrough that have said that. We also now know that the Leeds owner came out and said multiple times that basically Gary Monk's agent, when Gary Monk was trying to buy players at Leeds, Gary Monk's agent was insistent on being a part of the deal. And that was why Leeds, it led to arguments within the club that Monk's agent would consistently insist on being a part of a transfer that took place. Your thoughts, lads?
Yeah, but also as well, is there further substance to this than the Daily Mail?
Well, it's on various websites. I've only picked it off the Daily Mail, but
Sure,
there's legal letters.
Yeah,
and
I'm always
various other
sceptical when the Daily Mail write an article, but if it goes further than that, then that's very interesting.
There is a point to be made as well. There's sort of a take home as well to that agents get too much power anyway.
Well, this is it. We talked about Raiola earlier on, bro.
It is one of those things. I mean, you look at Raiola especially, and he gets far too much power and far too much say in all the dealings that go on. And this obviously this Monk story is quite frankly ridiculous.
Yeah.
Something's going on there. You mean when you look at that story, it does go some way to sort of explaining why potentially Birmingham dismissed him after what's happened, what he's done there last season. Which, by the way, did a good job there.
Yeah,
got dismissed from Birmingham. I think he managed to keep them up in something like 19th place after having a 10-point deduction, which in the Championship, after having spent no money, is very, very good.
It is good, yeah.
Well, just going back to this, lads, and again, because the article, if you get a chance to read it, go on to the Daily Mail website because it is very, very interesting. So basically, Monk and Featherstone, they work very closely together, so close that Featherstone sent a presentation to Birmingham in February 2018 in what proved to be a successful bid to secure the job for his client. So he sent a presentation over to Birmingham that basically said, no, Gary Monk is your guy, you need to hire him. It was a very good presentation. They said, yeah, we like that. As part of that presentation, he proposed a role for himself as head of club recruitment as well.
This guy?
Yeah.
This guy is living in like 2030.
This guy, wants a slice
well.
of every pie. He doesn't just want a slice of the pie, he wants the whole pie, right? So anyway,
he wants your job. He wants your girlfriend.
Bro, honest to God, this guy is wild, right? And the article just goes on to obviously explain a little bit more about him, right? So,
I just told you not to worry about Dave. That's over there.
Yeah,
honestly,
Mr. Steal your job
crazy.
over there.
So, where are we here? So, let's have a look here. Where are we? So, it says Middlesbrough, when Gary Monk signed Ryan Shotton from Birmingham, a prominent agent who was involved in the deal at the time came up to Middlesbrough and said that Featherstone had come around as a third party and asked to be involved in the deal. So he had no representation with Middlesbrough because it's a Middlesbrough transfer, not a Gary Monk transfer, and he wasn't representing the player at the time. Yet he still wanted to get involved in the deal. This guy is like I don't know. I don't know how do you describe a guy like this?
Ultimate shithousery.
It's wild, and the article is nuts. So here's another part, right? It says club insiders from Middlesbrough claim that when they were signing Danish striker Martin Braithwaite from Toulouse, Featherstone contacted a senior borough official about the deal and was told his involvement was not needed, no welcome. So even when they were signing players, right, that had nothing to do with him, Gary Monk was feeding this guy information to try and get involved in the deal. And again, obviously, he's getting a slice of all of this, and the issue then is Gary Monk getting a slice of this? No one really knows the answer, but when we talk about corruption in sport, agents in particular, it's a very hot topic. As you say with Raiola, is he getting too big a fee? Interesting article as well after this came out. I don't know if you saw the thing about Ravel. Do you see about Ravel Morrison and Sam Allardyce before?
I don't know if anyone's seen Ravel Morrison for about 6 years.
Oh,
Maybe,
he signed for Sheffield United.
Oh, God.
Well, basically, this is what happened, right? Ravel Morrison, when he was playing at West Ham under Sam Allardyce, there was a big thing about the involvement of Sam Allardyce's agent. Now, Sam Allardyce, he wanted Ravel Morrison to sign with his agent, who is a very good friend of his. Upon Ravel Morrison basically saying, fuck off, I don't want to sign with your agent, I have my own agent, he no longer played at West Ham. He got dropped from the team. As soon as all of that came out, Ravel Morrison tweeted, I told you all this was happening, but none of you wanted to listen to me. The corruption in just at an agent level is fucking insane. It's fucking insane. It's nuts.
But if anything, there's going to be things going on behind the scenes that none of us know.
Where there's big money involved, there's big corruption involved.
There is no way that a deal is made for millions of pounds and hundreds of thousands of pounds a week, that in which there are not many people trying to get involved. But there needs to be regulation as to how these things are handled.
There has to be.
It takes the honesty away from our game.
Bro, and you know what, right? The Leeds owner has come out today and said again, it was a Massimo Cellino. He's basically said that Gary Monk's agent was banned from Leeds, from Elland Road, because he insisted on getting involved in deals.
I think you said something more than a year ago now that always stuck with me, is that this is a fans game made by the fans, for the fans, and for no one else. And the moment that people come in and start changing that, and changing the way things are done, and ruining it essentially, so that people don't get the fair chance that they need and they deserve, that's when the game starts to go.
Well, we've talked about corruption on an agent level. We've talked about bad businessmanship, is that the word I'm looking for? On an ownership level. Yeah. Oh, we got the ultimate pile of shit coming up next. Right, Sepp Blatter, right? Get this article, because this is a fucking wild... You thought Gary Monk was wild. This is wild, right? Sepp Blatter, this came out, I think it was about 18 hours ago, 2 days ago, give or take. So, Sepp Blatter has begun legal proceedings against the footballing world governing body, UEFA or FIFA, for moral damage. And to try and reclaim around 60 of his watches, which are still in their possession. This guy, has all the money in the world, right? And he was basically, I don't know if the word was sacked or they came to some sort of agreement with UEFA where he was let go. Basically, there was a corruption scandal involving the Qatar World Cup. Platini has been, he might have to do a bit of time as well. Blatter made a 1.3 million payment to Platini, which they found out was a payment for loyalty or something, which he should never have had, right? So basically, brown envelopes going around everywhere, or bank transfers. And when we talk about corruption in football, from agents up, it's fucking nuts. We could do an entire expose on these people, right? The guy is arguing over 60 watches.
Bring him down.
60
one by
watches.
Blow this thing wide open.
I just don't, when I saw these two articles, right, I just don't, do you know what I mean? On the Qatar World Cup, we could spend all day talking about
we
that.
mentioned about AC Milan as well, didn't we?
Milan, yeah, go on.
Do you know about AC Milan? They've been
Milan thrown out of
the Europa League.
Yeah, I've seen that.
And we were saying one day, we wonder what else was going on behind the scenes, because was it UEFA have literally just said to them, look, we'll give you a bargaining deal here where you can pull out the Europa League and just take a year out, and that's fine, and we'll just not investigate anything further.
We'll call it quits.
We'll just call it quits, yeah. And then AC Milan,
see you later.
You can tell AC Milan know they've been up to no fucking good, because they put it off on the table and they go, thank you very much, we'll take that. Bye. No problem, absolutely. Normally you say to a club, we're going to ban you from one of the top European competitions for a year, and it would be they wouldn't have any of that.
Legal proceedings and all sorts.
It all kick off. Basemen are like, that's absolutely fine. No problem.
Absolutely fine.
Yeah. Please don't investigate this further.
Yeah, it's wild. It's a wild situation. But anyway, lads, we'll round it up very quickly because we're coming to an end. Was there anything else you wanted to touch upon, Rhys, just before you go?
I mean, look, I wanted to actually ask you guys about Wan-Bissaka. I mean, obviously, since you guys have been doing the last podcast, I mean, that has obviously been done and dusted there. He's a Red now. Mm-hmm. I wanted to get your guys' opinion on him. Is he the answer?
Yes. Becky, elaborate.
I do really believe that he is the answer.
This season.
I say so. Yeah. If you're telling me Ashley Young is the question, then
it's one of those things, right? Is that with any football transfer, there is always that chance, no matter who they are, that it could fall on his face, right?
Mm-hmm.
There is always that chance that can happen. But you look at someone like Wan-Bissaka, and you look at his season in numbers last season, and not just in numbers, but the way in which he played. Okay, he tops absolutely every single list. Now, the only factor for me that stands in the way from being a success is if he can't manage that transition of moving to
like a Zaha.
Yeah, like a much bigger club.
Okay.
But I do believe he's different to Zaha. You hear a lot of the people talking about how sort of quiet he is, how he gets on with it, how he's very mature beyond his years. You look at the stats, right? Last season, I think he had the most
of everything.
Most of everything out of all the fullbacks. And what was interesting is I read that Robertson and Alexander-Arnold got directly beaten one-on-one 30 times each. Wan-Bissaka only got beaten 10 times one-on-one.
Sure.
All last season, right? You look at interceptions, you look at tackles, you look at his runs. He tops absolutely everything. Now, when you're looking for a fullback that could potentially be your fullback for the next 10 years, I mean, what other boxes does he need to tick?
No, you're right. And he could develop into that fullback you have for the next 10 years, and great. I don't think he's going to be the guy that you need straight away. I think he's a great guy going forward. Maybe it's, I think
he's actually better defensively than he is going forward.
He is right now
he's defensively.
I like
rock.
him. We sat here last year before the season started, and I picked him out as a guy to watch.
I was going to say you were the first guy I ever heard talk about Wan-Bissaka.
Honestly,
it's a true story.
I saw him play a couple of times, and I thought that he looked good. And I thought he was going to have a really good breakout season, and as it turned out, he did. I also thought Sessegnon was going to win Young Player of the Season, so pinch of salt on that one. But I think he's a good player. I think he will turn into something good. But I'm not sure whether he's going to be the answer to your problems unless you were to sign some centre halves with a lot more experience. If you were to put an experienced good centre half next to him, I think he'd be still really good. I think he'd be a really good signing.
I just think that if he sort of anywhere near replicates what he did last season for United this season, especially defensively, then we've got some player in our hands, and it'll be a success.
Yeah.
How successful he is, and then in turn how successful United are, those are different scenarios, right?
I believe that Wan-Bissaka is in the exact same position as United as a club, actually, is that his success over the next 10 years will be completely decided by United's ambition. If they can sign players around him who are going to look after him while he's young, because he is young, and I keep telling you they will make mistakes in big games against good players. You moving forward, if you qualify for Champions Leagues, he doesn't have the experience against your Ronaldos, your Messis, things like that. That's where he'll get let down at the moment, and that's what's stopping him being in that top bracket. If you get players next to him who will teach him, then that's really good for his development.
Yeah, but obviously Wan-Bissaka isn't the solution, but I do think he's part of the solution.
He's part of the jigsaw.
And in the situation that United are in at the moment as a club, if you're looking for a new fullback, like obviously we have been, there are X amount of boxes on the page that you need ticked, and I just think that he ticked pretty much all of them, and that's all you can do. Aside from that, like you've said, you can only make sure that what you sign around him, it also benefits Wan-Bissaka. Yeah, and if you don't do that, then that could cause a problem. But that's not then Wan-Bissaka's problem.
On the subject of inexperience and promise, Frank Lampard. I wanted to get an opinion from you guys on what he can be reasonably expected to do at Chelsea this season.
Well, I'll touch upon it because I don't want to run out of time too much now. It's very much an Ole Gunnar Solskjaer situation, and I think if Lampard gets top 4, he'd be very lucky, given the fact his main guy Hazard is gone. They have some very good young players, but like you said, is the quality really there at Chelsea to guide them? To a degree.
Transfer embargo as well.
Yeah, exactly.
For me, it's too soon. We put a poll out very quickly. We put a poll out on the VMV page. It had maybe 50-60 votes, and they voted, not by a huge landslide margin, because about 60% of people said that it was too soon.
Yeah.
I don't think the situation is right. I don't think he has that much experience himself. Yes, he did it decent with a Derby side, but ultimately didn't bring any success.
Took them from 6th in the Championship the season before to 6th.
And he did well with young players, and he brought a good vibe, right? But he hasn't achieved anything. There's no real success. He's walking into his club. I think there's too much passion and love in his decision. He can't sign players. He sold the best player. I think that there's a ceiling, and I don't think it's too far above where they are already.
Yeah, totally agree. Alright, cool. Right, we leave it there. Make sure you add me up on social media, Vecchi and Rhys as well. All our IGs and Twitters will be throughout the video, and they'll be in the description below as well. So, like, comment, subscribe. If you have any questions, feel free to message any of us on Twitter. We're all socially active. So that'll be us done for this week. Tune in next week. Don't forget to like the transfer videos, and we will be back shortly. Till next time, people. Take care.